Okay, we should be going live in, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Okay, we are live on YouTube, everyone. Let me share the link in the chat so that people over here, if you guys want to share it with anyone, you can share the link with people to join the YouTube stream. It's in the Zoom chat. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure that we're recording the Zoom session as well, which we are doing right now. Hit screen share my screen, and we can get this show on the road. Let's present. So welcome everyone to this webinar about how gamification increases marketing ROI. As I was just saying before we hit start on the recording and start on the YouTube Live, this is a topic that I'm particularly excited about because it's, in my opinion, a little bit more fun than some of the previous topics we've covered at TARS. We generally talk about pure play lead generation. We talk about customer support, but gamification is one of the use cases that people use our product for at the very least. Maybe less so, but still a significant number of people do use our chatbots to administer things like quizzes. And in many ways, they are some of the most valuable, some of the most useful deployments of our chatbots. And also games are fun. So that makes this topic a little bit more niche, but also a little bit more fun. So I'm excited to get into it. Now, as always, with our webinars, we like to start the session off with intros, just so that you know who we are, giving this webinar to you guys, just so that you know where our information is coming from, and to maybe give you a little bit of a reason for why you should believe what we're saying, because otherwise we're just two random guys on your screen telling you what you should be doing in your marketing campaigns. And let's be real, you need to know where your information is coming from if you're going to make a change to your marketing campaigns. So starting off with TARS, we are the regular hosts of this webinar. We've been helping businesses digitize and automate processes, boost conversions, and troubleshoot queries using chatbots since 2016. Now, this is the elevator pitch definition, or maybe not definition, the elevator pitch story of who TARS is, but it really doesn't get to what we set out to do when we started building TARS. I mean, when we started in 2016, we really had one aim in mind. It was to improve the way businesses and customers interact with one another, because we found that going about the world, there were a lot of really bad digital user experiences that people were just taking for granted. A lot of customers just assume that they're going to have a bad digital experience with a business, and they accept that, which we couldn't sit by and watch. So we decided to build TARS. Initially, our plan was just to figure out the best way to facilitate these interactions, and the method we came to was conversations. After some time, this term chatbot came into vogue, and it described what we were trying to do. So we adopted it, and we became a chatbot company pretty much overnight. But underlying all of that is just this common goal that we all have on the team of improving the way businesses and customers interact with each other. And you'll see a little bit about what that looks like in this webinar as well. But instead of me going on and on about what TARS is, I'm going to hand it over to Siddiq from Osortu. We're privileged to be hosting this webinar with the folks over at Osortu, who are really experts in this space. So even I'm excited to hear what they have to say about this topic. Over to you, Siddiq.
Hi, everyone. I'm Siddiq. I'm the CEO of Osortu. And Osortu, actually, it's one application that helps you create powerful engagement. It's a marketing platform that include develop unique tools that can help you boost engagement. So productivity, engagement, you can pick winners. Different kind of gamification are included in the tool. And before the end of this webinar, I will talk about, those different strategies that Osortu can help you achieve with gamification.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. This is something I've always wondered. We generally do the companies first and then the hosts. I wonder if we should switch it around next time. I always say this, but we never end up doing it. But as to who we are specifically as your hosts, also, it's a little weird that my picture is black and white, but Siddiq's is not. As to who we are as hosts, I'm Arnav. I am a marketing lead at TARS, content marketer, primarily. And essentially what my job entails is creating content like this webinar, blog posts, guides, articles, to help you get the most out of your marketing campaigns and your customer support operations. Yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do all day, every day. And as I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned on the previous slide, I am privileged to be joined by Siddiq today, Siddiq Alalaid. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name, Siddiq, who is the co-founder and CTO of Osortu. So welcome, Siddiq. Do you want to maybe say a couple of words about yourself? If not, we can continue with the session.
Uh, Actually, no, it's okay. You described me pretty well, actually.
Awesome.
It's okay.
Awesome. We'll keep it short and sweet. Now, moving on to what we are actually going to be talking about today. We're keeping this webinar simple. In the past, we've tried to throw everything and the kitchen sink into our webinars, but off late, we've been trying to keep our webinars more simple to increase audience engagement at the end. And this webinar is no different. We're going to divide the main content of this webinar up into 3 parts. In the first part, we're just going to briefly describe what gamification is. It's literally 1 slide long. It's going to be after this slide. I'm going to tell you what gamification is, like the definition of it. Then we're going to move directly into section 2, which I think is more important, where Siddiq is going to talk to us about why gamification matters for marketers. So we've established this definition of gamification in the first section on the next slide of this presentation. But I think the more important conversation that needs to be had is why that strategy, why this concept of gamification is important in the context of marketing. Once we've established that, I think we have the why of this webinar. So when we're talking about how gamification increases marketing ROI, these first 2 sections are sort of to lay the base, lay the groundwork, to help us understand why exactly we might want to implement gamification in our marketing campaigns. And then section 3 is where we are going to talk about how you can actually implement gamification into your marketing strategy. And instead of talking about it in vague terms, instead of talking about it at a high, at sort of a conceptual level, what we are going to do is we are going to talk to you about a couple of actual strategies that you can implement in your marketing campaigns to see the results that we talked about in sections 1 and 2. Finally, in section 4, we're going to open up the floor for you guys to ask us questions about anything that we talked about on this webinar, any questions that you have in general about TARS or Osortu as platforms, as products. We're pretty much just going to give you guys free access to us for the last 15 to 20 minutes of this session so that you guys can get any questions that you might have out of the way. Before we start, though, really quick on a logistical note, we are going to be recording this session. So if you need to leave early, if you missed the beginning, maybe, don't worry, we will send you a recording of this webinar after the session is done. Also, we are currently streaming this webinar to YouTube. I shared the link in the chat earlier. So if you open up the Zoom chat, you should be able to access the YouTube link. If for whatever reason you prefer watching the webinar on YouTube as opposed to Zoom, the link is over there for you guys to check out. And the beauty of YouTube is that immediately after this webinar is done, as soon as I click end webinar on my Zoom interface, YouTube immediately processes the video and puts it up on YouTube. So if you want to share it immediately, if you don't want to wait for us to wait for the Zoom to process, upload it to Wistia, and then embed it onto our page and send it out to you as an email, then you can just go to YouTube, check out our channel, and share the link directly from there. But that's enough about the logistics. Let's get into the actual content of this webinar. Now, as I mentioned, the definition of gamification, what is gamification? It's just going to be 1 slide. And the reason it was going to be 1 slide, I was going to go into a little bit more detail, but surprisingly enough, this is one situation where the definition online, the textbook definition, this actually comes from Oxford Languages of all places, is actually pretty good. So when you look up what gamification is online, the definition that you get is the application of typical elements of game playing, so point scoring, competition with others, rules of play, to ensure to other areas of activity, typically as an online marketing technique to encourage engagement with a product or a service. So, I mean, the way that you can think about gamification in this context is it's a means to an end. So as marketers, we are always trying to increase engagement on our pages. We are trying to increase engagement with our product or service from our prospective customers. And what are the ways that we achieve that? One of those ways, one of the tools in our tool belt is gamification. And Siddiq is going to go into much more detail about how exactly gamification works in this regard, how gamification increases engagement with a product or a service. But in a nutshell, I mean, we've all played games before. You don't need to be, you honestly don't need to be a kid to enjoy games. Games are just more fun in a lot of ways to interact with than your traditional means of digital interaction. But to go into a little bit more detail about how exactly that mechanism works, what exactly is at play under the hood when you implement a gamification strategy into your marketing campaigns, I'm going to hand it over to Siddiq to tell you a little bit about why gamification works in the context of marketing and why it's important for marketers to consider.
Thank you, Arnav. So I will share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So it's a good introduction. You talk about fun. So did you know that 91% posts that achieve more than 1,000 comments on social media, there are contests. So this is a super good statistic. So you talked about fun earlier. So the first reason why gamification matter for marketer, it's bring fun. And sometimes you can think that game and marketing may sound strange, but it's a perfect fit because people naturally love fun, and gamification adds fun and excitement. Think about when you don't have internet anymore, Google, they show you a simple game that can, keep you on Google and, just play. Another good reason is engagement and brand loyalty. In fact, research show that 93% marketers agree that interactive content is way more effective than static contents. And it really allows you to deliver in your marketing experience, better experience. So with brand loyalty, you can stimulate activity, awareness, and passing different information to your lead about your business. Another good reason is it's affordable and it's multi-platform. What I mean by that is traditional marketing can be really astronomical, in money. Like think about TV ads and street ads. Target, they create a gamification wish list app, and only with this application they increase their sales with 92 million. It was a simple application that people have to just put their wish list during the Christmas period, and people was putting their wish list with an app funny, and the wish list actually was 92 million increase for the target revenue. It's also multi-generational, and it have a really positive association. As Anna was saying a couple minutes ago, every age can play. So in a gamification, it's not only for kids, but it's really all over the age that you can reach people about gamification. And as a social creator, we really like, we always want achievement and triumph. So when you put something with game, every step that you are able to complete, you feel kind of you achieve something great, and it's always push you do more. Another good reason is brand awareness and education. Most of the time, when you do gamification, people are not seeing it as a marketing. So it's really natural for user. And at the same time, it's also help you educate user and consciously to better understand your brand. Another reason is lead generation and customer data. Data help you make the right decision. When you have the right data and you analyze it well, it helps you really make the right um, decision. So actually, getting the data is equally important as the data itself when it's accurate and effective. And the main reason is actually it helps you boost sale and increase profit. So a good example is Volkswagen China. In one of their gamification, they increased over 33 million hits, and they got more than 100 KIDs submitted from all their participants. Ford Motors, they also have a crazy good statistic by 8 million, and they got more than like 600% more like on their Facebook account just by using gamification. So it gives customer a reason to keep returning on your brand and continuously purchasing your product. So here is couple good reason why you should implement gamification in your strategy. Now, how can you implement gamification strategy into your marketing? So a couple basic steps as you have to know your audience. It's always better to know if you are talking to young people, older people, to know exactly how you can convey your message better. Another thing is to set goal before starting. So what is the goal? Do you want to collect lead? Do you want to sell more products? Whatever the goal is, you have to define it before, you know, before like in the strategy itself. The campaign timing and the duration. This is super important because you you won't launch a gamification, let's say for all of the year. It will be always in a time frame. It can be 1 month, 6 months, whatever the time, but there is always a timing. So you should always set it up clearly. Keep it simple. People like things simple. So when it's simple, it's most of the time more clear and more easy to understand. Multi-channel promotion relevant to your niche. This is something that is really good in gamification. Is most of the time your participant also will help you promote the uh, what you are trying to promote. And by using multi-channel to promote to your niche, it will really help you to achieve that in your strategy. Have a content calendar, like know exactly when you have to share the detail about the gamification, what is the rule of your, if it's a contest or whatever the thing. Set some KPI. The KPI here is super crazy important, and actually it's important in all the strategy that you adopt in marketing, because you can't improve what you can't measure. So measurement is actually the key for every improvement. So you always have to think about setting your KPI in any strategy. It can be marketing, gamification, or any other strategy. Give reward. As a human, we all like reward. If I'm telling you, I don't know, I will give you $100 or 10K, to do something that is not making you like a big constraint, you will be more willing to participate. So the reward is crazy important. And another good strategy on another statistic online, you can see that the more your reward is higher, the more percentage most of the time your gamification campaign can be a success. Can be a success. Encourage users to share your challenge to their friend. And the last thing, promote, promote. The promotion is really the key. Your you want to promote your campaign to grab more user on it and help you boost and achieve what you want to do. So a couple example of good gamification is social media contest. Social media contest, as I was telling, more than like 91% posts that achieve more than 1,000 comments online are contests. And 93% of marketers, they say that they love marketing gamification. So this one is one example of an Instagram contest from Biscuit and the button, which is a giveaway. So as you can see, they have just their rule there, follow their page, like and save the post, and tag a friend who you think that can do whatever you want. So this help them to have more people knowing their brand, and people who is participating, they are also sharing what they are promoting to their friend. So it's a win-win, because as a participant, they can win something, and as a business, they are reaching broader audience. Another good example of a social media contest is this one from the Delivery Dress Room, which is really similar. There is no rule for, which rule you should implement in your contest. You just have to decide the way that is best for you. So another one here is you have to tag 3 friends, you share the post, like at the post, and follow the page. So all of that are good example of contest example that you can do on Instagram to boost your audience, collect lead. Another kind of real example is off-page contest. So with off-page contest, you can create any page with any formula and tell to your people, hey, register here to have a chance to win $100 gift card. And you can set your duration, your time, and our tool also can help you achieve that easily. It will automatically pick the winner for you, and you can put actually all your filtering specification, and it will pick the winner according to what you want to do. So it can be competition, ranking list, scoring system, incentive. All of them are really, real example that people use for their strategy. And actually, I saw like a good, like a good gamification, which Nike did in a partner with Stephen Curvy, the 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 NBA basket guy, and it was a chatbot gamification. And after that, people was participating on the chatbot answering, they were redirecting to a formula where they have to put more information. And so it was a real combination of a chatbot and an off-page contest, actually. So Anav, I will let you make the next step and explain that.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Siddiq. Really quick before we continue with this conversation, one of the points that you mentioned earlier that I think is very underrated in the context of gamification is the ability to learn more about your customers, and to measure more KPIs about how your marketing campaigns are performing. Because I think that what a lot of people forget, I mean, when we talk about gamification, we get so caught up in just boosting engagement that we forget that, I mean, the way I like to think about it is that at the end of the day, a lot of marketing interactions that we have online with our customers are, if you boil it down to its very basics, is just a trade of information between us and them. They are giving us some information, and then we are giving them back a product or some services, or we're giving them some more information in the other end. And the question that we are asking ourselves is, what is the way we can make that trade of information between us and our customers as successful as possible? And by successful, I mean, what can we do to increase the likelihood of someone sharing that information with us, so that we can then sell them our products or our services, or understand them better, so that we can improve our product or services, or improve the way that we sell our product and services to them. And when you think about it in that context, when you think about what is the most likely to get someone to actually share their information with you, I think gamification seems to be a no-brainer. Because, I mean, if you think about it even from a personal level, would you rather read through a landing page and fill out a form to get something like a discount or a coupon on a product, or would you take a quiz? I mean, both of those interactions are going to take the same amount of time, but at least for me personally, giving a quiz is a much way to package that time or package that interaction that we're having with a business. I mean, honestly, filling out a form and then I'm going to get into it a little bit when I'm talking about a quiz game show over here, but filling out a form and then reading through a landing page, those are tasks, they're chores. They're not something that I as a customer would ever want to do. But if I can take that exact same outcome that comes out of that, getting that discount, getting that coupon code, buying that product, buying that service, and I can repackage it as a game, I mean, why not do that? You're achieving the exact same outcome, you're just doing it in a way that's more fun for the user. You're using their time a little better, and in the process you're collecting information about them that you can use to improve your marketing campaigns, to improve your product offerings. Now moving forward, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We're actually doing really well on time, which I appreciate. Sometimes we tend to go over, sometimes we tend to undershoot, but I think today we are in a good place on time. So the reason that we wanted to host this webinar at TAR is because we're obviously a chatbot company, and a lot of people use our chatbots to when people think of chatbots, what do you think about? A lot of people think of customer support automation. You want to find out where your order is from an e-commerce site. Something goes wrong with a product that you bought. You go to a website, you interact with a chatbot to find the answer to that question. What a lot of our customers use chatbots for tends to be pure play lead generation, as I mentioned at the beginning. Forms, as we mentioned, they're not particularly engaging. If you collect the same information through a chatbot, it's more engaging because people prefer having chat conversations. But even then, at the end of the day, it's just a simple trade of information between customers. If I ask a customer for their email and their name, whether it's through a chat or a form, at the end of the day, that's still quite for lack of a better term, a bureaucratic process. So why then are we talking about gamification today? Why did we want to host a webinar about gamification? Well, because there is a small but significant subset of our customers who use our chatbots in the context of gamification, where they take the exact same trade of information and trade of services that I just talked about, and instead of framing it as just a conversation where a customer is sharing their information with the business so that they can get the service, what they do is they frame it as a quiz. And what's perhaps more interesting is, because we'll get into this in a couple of slides, but what's perhaps more interesting is because it's framed as a quiz in the context of a conversation, it's not framed like a regular quiz. It's framed as actually a quiz game show. And I'll show you an example of what this looks like in a couple of slides. And if we have time at the end, which we will. I mean, quizzes are not new to the world of marketing. We've been using quizzes for, I'd say, maybe near a decade now. They've become a ubiquitous part of the way people interact with the internet. And we have software that allows you to administer quizzes to your customers pretty easily. Now, what our customers have been doing is they've been taking those same quizzes, instead of administering it through the same quiz software that everyone is used to seeing, everyone's used to interacting with, the sorts that you interact with on websites like BuzzFeed. What they've been doing is they've been reframing that interaction, the exact same questions that they would ask a customer through regular quiz software, through a chatbot. Now, why is this a better way of administering quizzes? Why make the shift from your regular quiz software to a chatbot? Well, it all boils down to personality. And this chatbot, I actually have it open in the next tab. So at the end of my slides, what we can do is we can jump out while you guys are typing out your questions and actually interact with this quiz chatbot. But the reason the shift from a regular piece of quiz software to a chatbot makes sense for a lot of companies is because it all boils down to personality. At the end of the day, when you're interacting with a regular quiz software where you're just clicking buttons on a page to get the result on the other end, that is in essence a glorified form. Even though the form is helping you answer a quiz, it is still at the end of the day just a form that you fill out on your own as a customer. With a chatbot, on the other hand, you're reframing that entire interaction as a two-way interaction. There is someone, or rather something, on the other end, because it's a piece of software that is walking you through the quiz process. And that transforms the one-way interaction of just filling out a quiz into a two-way interaction between you and someone from the company. Now, when you reframe this interaction as a two-way interaction as opposed to a one-way interaction, it opens up a set of possibilities for you that traditional quiz software just can't. And one of the possibilities that I want to focus on today is framing the entire interaction like a quiz show. Now, we've all watched quiz shows before. We all know what they're all about. But quiz shows, essentially, I mean, if you think about any quiz show, you have a host and then you have participants. Well, because you have a piece of software on the other end that's mimicking a human being, what you can do is you can frame the interaction as a quiz show. And that adds an element of, again, like Siddiq was talking about, of engagement and fun to the interaction, because it's no longer just you pressing a bunch of buttons to get a result on the other end. It's you actually taking part in a competition in the same way that you might see on TV or on YouTube. And the end result of that, the sort of auxiliary benefits of that, is that the experience, the actual physical experience of giving the quiz becomes considerably more engaging. So, for example, you can see in this GIF on the right side of my screen, the interaction, the administering of the quiz is actually filled with GIFs. It's filled with emoji. Oh, that was an accident. There we go. The interaction with the quiz is actually filled with GIFs. It's filled with emojis. We've given the quiz master, the chatbot in this case, a personality. We've added a couple of GIFs to give the quiz chatbot an actual face. And the advantage of that is that, I mean, you couldn't really do that in a traditional form. The way I like to think about it is, if you were trying to administer the same quiz through a regular quiz software, it would be very hard. It would be a big jump for the customer to make, to think that the quiz software actually has a personality. Even if you put the GIFs there, even if you put the emojis there, it would be a very hard jump for the user to make that, to make that cognitive jump and say, oh yeah, I'm interacting with someone or something on the other end that's administering this quiz to me. Now, the beauty of quizzes is that you can use them, like Siddiq said. Siddiq talked about a bunch of great use cases, but a couple of use cases that our customers have used these quiz chatbots for is, one, distributing coupons and discounts. So I'll show you an example of this after these slides are done. But distributing coupons and discounts, I mean, this is a fantastic use of quiz chatbots. I mean, if you think about it, what are the traditional ways that we distribute coupons and discounts to people? You usually have a landing page, you have a form, they fill out their phone number, they fill out their details, and then you send them a coupon or a discount. Now, it gets the job done, but again, it's a more boring way of doing it. If you can do the same thing through a quiz, I mean, you're more likely to get someone to click on a link. If you say, hey, do you want to give this quiz? Then, hey, do you want to click on this link, fill out a form, and then get a coupon that you can redeem online somewhere. The difference between those two is, in my opinion, at the very least, considerable in terms of how engaging one is versus the other. The second is capturing leads. Again, most of the campaigns, this is a point that Siddiq brought up when he was talking about why you want to implement gamification into your marketing campaigns. When you think about lead gen campaigns that we run online, they're expensive. They take a lot of time and effort to optimize, and oftentimes they have extremely high bounce rates. They have extremely high drop-off rates and low conversion rates. And a big reason for that is because when someone clicks onto a landing page where you are capturing a lead, generally the experience is quite boring. It's essentially a glorified brochure. You land on a page, you read through a bunch of text, you skim over it. Maybe they have some stock images, maybe they have some social proof, some testimonials, but the entire experience of interacting with that page and then filling out a form is quite boring. If you can reframe that entire interaction as a quiz show, it makes the experience considerably more fun for a lot of people, because instead of reading through essentially a glorified brochure, you are actually participating in a quiz competition. And then a third example of where we've seen these quizzes used, which I think is also underrated, and it is a form of marketing, is to educate your customers and partners. So what a lot of companies do is, when there's a particularly boring concept that they have to educate their customers about, or educate maybe their distributors about, no one likes going through traditional training methods. No one likes going through traditional trainings. If they're your employees, no one likes reading through traditional help docs if they're customers. What you could do is you could take that same information, put it behind a quiz chatbot, turn it into a quiz game show, and administer that information in that way. And in the process, what you can essentially do is you can trick these people into learning the information without realizing that they're actually going through a boring process to learn more about a product or to learn more about a new practice that they should implement in the way that they are going about their work. And really quick to close out before we go to the Q&A section, I think I think this is true for all of the tactics that we've spoken about today. But one thing that we've definitely seen with these quiz game shows, and I thought of it when I was discussing this last point over here. If you think about it, what a quiz chatbot does, or for that matter, any form of gamification does, is it repackages boring tasks that people would otherwise not do in a fun way. So educating customers, capturing leads, distributing coupons, even buying a product, the actual process of buying a product, they're quite bureaucratic, boring tasks that we don't really pay much attention to. We don't think of as being particularly engaging. Even when you're buying something online on an e-commerce store, even though buying stuff is fun, the actual process of filling out your information, adding stuff to your cart, if you think about it, if you zoom out, they're not particularly fun tasks to do. You do them just as a means to achieve the ends of getting the product or getting the service at the end. What you do with gamification, what you do with these quiz chatbots, is you make the process of reaching that end enjoyable as well. There's the cliched phrase that people say, it's the real reward was the friends we made along the way. Well, in this case with gamification, what you are doing is you're turning the journey to reach the end, to get that product, to get that service at the end, into something that's actually enjoyable and that people actually look forward to. And the end result of all of that is obviously increasing your marketing ROI, which is why we are talking today. If you can make the process of sharing your lead information, of getting that coupon or discount, or learning new information more fun for the customer, for the end user, they are more likely to actually finish the process and reach the end and convert at the end, which in turn helps you as a marketer, because that ensures that more people who you are paying or you're investing time and effort to bring to your pages are actually doing the action that you want them to do, whether that's getting a coupon and using that coupon, whether that's sharing their lead information, or whether that's learning more information. But that's pretty much it from us in terms of the information we wanted to share with you guys. I think we actually made almost perfect time on this webinar. It's 9:38 right now for me. We planned around 20 minutes for audience engagement at the end, and we have about 21 minutes now, which is almost perfect. So what I'll do now is I'll open up the floor for our audience right now to ask us questions. If you guys have any questions, if you don't, that's also completely fine. We like to keep the end of the session open for you guys in case you do have any questions. But again, it just means we've done our jobs well explaining all of these concepts. If you guys don't have any questions, that's the way I like to look at it. But while you guys are typing, what we can actually do is we can close out of these slides and I can show you what one of these quiz chatbots look like. Oh, actually really quick, before we do that, for the folks who do have to leave, if you have questions after the webinar is done, if you want to learn more about any of the concepts that we spoke about today, you want to use any of our products today, feel free to reach out to either the folks at Osortu or us at TARS using the details that you see on your screen right now. We're pretty responsive at TARS at the very least. I'm sure you guys are too at Osortu. So if you reach out through any of these methods, go to our website, check out our product offerings, book a demo maybe. We'd be more than happy to answer any additional questions that you have about the concept of gamification, about how you can implement any of the strategies that we spoke about today. But while we wait for your questions, what I'm going to do, let's see if this works. It's been some time since I've used this, this particular quiz chatbot, but let me see if I can actually show you an example of one of these quiz chatbots in action.
While you are doing that, I just want to.
Sure.
I just notified. Actually, earlier I said Nike for the example with Steph Curry. It was Under Armour. So sorry.
Under Armour, right. Oh yeah. Steph Curry is
exactly. And it was actually a quiz game. Like
wow.
That. Yes,
Great.
it was actually a quiz, and you have to answer 8 question every time that Steph Curry was putting a 3-point. So they were and you had the chance to enter in a pool of some different gifts. And when you successfully answer, you are entering in the other pool on another page. Yeah, it was that they did.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the way I like to think about it is I have my, by training, I'm a social scientist. I've studied social science subjects primarily. And in social science, a lot of how you learn about people is by running surveys and doing interviews with them, which on the surface are very high friction tasks to complete. Getting someone to take out the time out of their day to give a survey for essentially no benefit to them unless you give them like a gift card or something at the end, or tell them that they have a chance of winning a gift card, is extremely hard. Most people say no to you when you ask them to give a survey. But if you frame it as a quiz, you can ask them the exact same questions. You can learn the exact same information from them, but make them believe that it's like, or package it in a way that's actually appealing to them, where they actually get some value out of it, even if the value is just having a little bit of fun, um, passing a little bit of time in the day. But this is an example of actually a demo quiz chatbot that we made in one of our previous webinars. I hope the APIs that we implemented in this webinar, in this chatbot, are still active. But we can give it a go. This is an example of a travel quiz where you can, I mean, if you're a travel agency or if you're a travel company, you can implement a quiz where you ask people about essentially travel facts about the world, and then based on their responses, give them a prize at the end. So over here we have which country gets the most visitors per year. I believe the answer was France. Let's see. Yep. France is in fact correct. Again, you can see we use a lot of GIFs in our chatbots. This is something that you can't really do in traditional quiz software. Which city gets the most visitors per year? I mean, if France is the most visited, let's go with Paris. I think this is wrong. Yep, I'm wrong. It's actually Bangkok. Where was the following picture taken? Oh, Spain, obviously. Yeah. Okay.
No, this was Paris.
Yeah, no, I was just messing about. Let's see if it actually calculates my score. Okay, reveal my prize. I didn't do so well in that quiz. Okay, yeah, I got 1 out of 3 correct. You can obviously make these quizzes more complex. And then over here, it's going to use that information. Notice a typo over here. I recommend that you go on more vacations. If you leave your email ID below, I'll connect you with one of our travel planners who will create a custom itinerary for you. Now, leaving your contact details to get connected to a travel planner is actually a pretty common lead gen use case for a lot of travel agencies. Usually you just say, hey, we've planned these many trips before, look at all of the fun you can have, share your email with us and we'll connect you, which is, I mean, you're essentially selling them on the idea of booking this consultation with you. But if you frame it as a quiz over here, we framed it as a reward at the end of a quiz. Now, most people are probably not going to fall for it. And they're going to be like, okay, I knew you were going to upsell me on it. But maybe the fact that we've framed it as a question, framed it as a quiz, shown them some GIFs over here to make the experience more fun, increases the likelihood of them actually sharing their email at the end of the quiz. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this demo. I think we can jump back to the slides, see if anyone has any questions. If they do, great. If not, also great. As I mentioned earlier, we've just done our job really well. I imagine that all of you are furiously typing on your end to get these questions in before we end.
Are you also checking on YouTube if there is some question on YouTube?
Oh yeah, that's actually a great idea. Let me do that. I have the YouTube. Can you share some? Actually, we do have a question on YouTube. Good catch, Rick. Can you share some ideas and execution on how you can improve, how can you improve or build a pipeline for leads outside of India? Good question. You know what? I think that's a lot of folks are trying to figure that exact question out. I mean, the beauty of digital marketing, I'd say, is that you can, if you have, unless your product involves you being in physically the same place, or your service involves you being in physically the same place to sell to your customers, the beauty of digital marketing is that you can get reach anywhere in the world. sitting wherever you are in the world. I mean, you could run ads, run Facebook ads, run Google ads to cater to an audience outside of India. Facebook and Google have great targeting features that allow you to do that. And once you have the pipeline set up to bring traffic to your pages from outside of India, you can use something like gamification. You can use something like a social media contest, or you can use an off-page contest, or you can use a quiz game show to engage those people once they land on the page, to maximize the number of people from outside of India who actually share their information with you. I have no idea why, but NordVPN is suddenly opened up on my computer and wants me to do something. I don't know why. At the most inconvenient times, NordVPN. Let me get rid of this notification. And yeah, actually we can close out of the slides and hang out here for a little bit. It's 9:47 on my end over here. I think we can wait for, hey, we have a question here from Nicola. Is Stars inspired by the robot from the movie Interstellar? Yes. Okay. It's a bit of a complex story, because I mean, it very clearly is, but at the same time, there's one time I asked our CTO whether TARS was inspired by the robot from Interstellar, and he said no, TARS is actually an acronym. It stands for Text Automated Response System, but I also think that he was just messing with me at the time. I'm pretty sure it is just inspired from the robot in Interstellar. I think initially, actually, if I'm not mistaken, one of our founders, Ish, might be on this webinar, and he can clarify it from us in the chat. But initially, when TARS started out, a little bit of background on TARS, Ish and Vineet started off as like a WhatsApp assistant, where people would message them on WhatsApp to get stuff done, and then they would manually do it on the other end, but they would essentially masquerade as being a robot, being TARS, the robot, on the other end. And I think they had a plan of creating other accounts on WhatsApp as well, called Kip. And I forgot what the other name of the robot was in Interstellar. There was TARS, Kip, and if someone can remind me of what the third robot was. I think the initial plan was to create individual assistants for each one of them. But then TARS was such a success with the web-based platform that we kind of stuck with TARS. Maybe in the future we'll name some of our products Kip. And I don't know why I can't remember the third robot's name from Interstellar. Awesome. Oh, we have some more engagement on YouTube over here. Use a wheel like Amazon quiz. Yeah, using a wheel is a pretty good gamification method. I always see those wheels on websites, like the exit intent wheels, where it's like spin this wheel to see if you can get a discount. I don't know. They always have like some of the options over there are pretty awesome. Some of the rewards that you can get are pretty awesome. But I've never once seen anyone interacted with anyone who's gotten a good reward from those wheels. It's usually just like, oh, share your email and we'll share discounts with you. But yeah. Okay, so it's 9:50 on my end. We've waited for a couple of minutes. We've answered a couple of questions, great questions, especially the one about TARS being inspired by the robot in the movie Interstellar. Thanks for that, Nicola. I think we can end the session over here.
I think there is another question. One nice question.
Oh, yeah? Am I missing it?
Our 8th software development company, BPO, call center service, please share how to go about. I'm not understanding the question, actually.
Yeah, I'm not understanding it either.
Mystic Warriors, can you be more specific?
Yeah. Are you asking how you could implement gamification into your marketing strategy for a BPO call center service company? If so, I mean, you can implement it in much the same way as someone in like e-commerce could. I think this is a mistake that I think a lot of folks make when we think about things like gamification. We think about it only being useful in the context of B2C use cases, like selling socks online or selling artisanal bath products online. But if you think about it, the people who work at companies that buy things like BPO services or buy software development services, they're just people. When they're not at work, they are interacting with the same quizzes online and the same social media contests online that we talk about in a B2C context. So it doesn't make any sense that they would suddenly change when they get to work and not be interested in those same forms of engagement. I mean, we have to remember that the people who run businesses, the people who are making buying decisions for businesses, are just as irrational and they're just as human as everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think on that note, I think we can close out this session. Also, we'll be sending you folks a recording and slide deck of this webinar within a couple of days. Yep. Thanks for reminding me, Abhilash. As we close out, I'll just give everyone a reminder. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. And if you did miss part of it, if you joined late, if you had to leave early, I mean, if you had to leave early, you're not here right now, so I don't know why it makes sense for me to say it. But if you did leave early and somehow if you left early and you came back, maybe we will be sharing this recording with you. So if you missed any part of the webinar, you can re-watch it. It just takes Zoom a little bit of time to process the recording and before we can upload it. But it will be up shortly. And if you really want to watch it immediately, if you want to share with people immediately, check out the YouTube link for the webinar. Because we live stream this on YouTube. I'm going to share it again with you guys. Let's just copy the link and share it with you guys. The beauty of YouTube is that actually we got it sent by two people. So you have two links over there, exact same link. You can click on them. Once the webinar is done, once I hit end over here, YouTube will process it and it'll be up within a matter of minutes for you guys to watch and share. Yeah. So do check that out if you want to share it with anyone on your team. I know we had some interest from people who emailed us saying that they wanted to watch the webinar and share it with their team. For you guys, check out the YouTube link, share it with your team, see what they have to say. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It was absolutely great hosting this webinar. And Siddiq, thank you for joining us as a host. I mean, I learned a lot from your slides myself as a marketer, and they're definitely insights that I would not have had before attending this webinar.
It's a pleasure, and really thank you for inviting me, and thank you to all the attendees actually.
Absolutely. Yep, the attendees are really what make the webinar happen. Anyways, on that note, I will end this session and you guys will have access to the recording.